Hello and welcome to Thornton360. I'm Todd Barnes, and today we look at a new improved community center in the city's future, why some areas of city parks and open space are looking a little brown, and the healthy farmers markets are back in Thornton. But first, we begin with the latest from City Council. At the July 26th meeting, two public hearings related to community development block grants came before Council. Council approved a resolution authorizing the 2022 Annual Action Plan, or AAP, funding and the reallocation of 2021 program year funds for CDBG. The approval and submittal of the AAP are required to receive CDBG funds for the 2022 program year. The activities identified meet the national objectives of the CDBG program and align with the funding priorities identified in the city's consolidated plan. Also approved the second substantial amendment to the Resident Participation Plan for Community Development Block Grant funding. The updates include the simplification of format and text, clarification of the public notice periods, the addition of the definition of projects, updating the accessibility section, removal of the waivers provided for the pandemic, and a substantial amendment adding thresholds for funding adjustments, not requiring a substantial amendment to an annual action plan. Council approved an agreement for a development incentive between the city and Living Spaces Furniture to renovate the approximately 200,000 square foot former Sears Grand building in Larkridge. Living Spaces is requesting no more than $2.6 million in development incentives to assist in development of the project. And city staff presented information on the Naturally Thornton plan, highlighted were the reasons for the initiative, details on the Waterwise landscape implementation process, status, and impact of these efforts. You'll hear more about the Naturally Thornton Waterwise landscape effort coming up in just a bit. To see the entire City Council meeting in high definition, tune to Xfinity Channel 881. You can also watch on demand anytime at thorntonco.tv or by downloading our app for Apple TV or Roku by searching Thornton in your device's app store. The next City Council meeting is Tuesday, August 23rd at 7 p.m. For more information about that meeting, visit gocot.net/councilmeetings. Thornton residents will receive a notice in the mail by the end of July regarding the recently updated health advisory levels set by the EPA for PFAS in drinking water. PFAS are found in food packaging, non-stick cookware, stain and water-resistant fabrics, and a number of other everyday products. These chemicals can move through soils and contaminate drinking water sources. For more information about PFAS, the updated health advisories, what the City of Thornton is doing in response, as well as actions our residents and customers can take to lower their risk, that can be found at gocot.net/qualitywater. Mayor Jan Coleman addressed the PFAS issue at the July 26th City Council meeting.
Now, I do want to address something that was on the news that Thornton released about forever chemicals. These are the PFAS chemicals in our water supply. I understand how concerning an announcement such as this can feel when you read it, and council members and I just learned about it, and we were also concerned at the time we heard about it until we dug in to better understand the numbers. But even so, we are working to determine what we need to do in the future to remove these chemicals from our drinking water. But here's what we do know now. The Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is communicating that it's fine to continue drinking and using Thornton's water. So this means that our drinking water continues to meet all of the federal and state primary drinking water standards. Thornton is not the only community that is going to be notifying its customers about this issue. Many communities across the state and the country will be doing the same thing by telling people about these unregulated chemicals. Thornton has been leading in the metro area with our transparency about this issue, as well as how we've been proactively measuring these chemicals and engaging and informing our community about these new health advisories. Most communities don't even have the equipment sensitive enough to measure these low levels. Thornton had to use an outside lab for our own water. And to illustrate how small this is, it is the equivalent of 1 drop of water in a train water tanker that is over 10 miles long. So if you're a numbers person like me, you want to know what that means. So the standard since 2016 was to report a health advisory level for 70 parts per trillion and only just changed to 0.004 parts per trillion. So Thornton's levels at our water treatment plants are 5 and 7 parts per trillion, so way below the 70 trillion mark and slightly above the 0.004. So I can see where the numbers might get a little scary. However, we are very low compared to what the standard is. And it's also important to know that the new health advisory is regarding potential risks based on a lifetime of exposure. We wanted to get this information out as quickly as we could so that potentially vulnerable populations, like pregnant women or women who are breastfeeding and children under 5, could make informed decisions based on their own risk levels. And Thornton's already started working on possible solutions to bring the levels of PFAS down to this new, almost unmeasurable level. And again, the big takeaway is that the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is communicating that it is fine to continue drinking and using Thornton's water.
Right now, we're going to talk a little bit more about PFAS and how that's impacting the residents in the city of Thornton. And to do that and talk about our water supply, we've got Martin Kimmis. He's the water quality manager for the city of Thornton. And Martin, we know these chemicals have been known about for a long time, but things changed with the EPA and stuff this summer. Can you tell me how that happened?
Sure, Todd, that's correct. We did get word probably in about May that the health advisory limits for PFOA and PFOS were going to change to a lower level. EPA did not give an indication as to what those new levels were going to be. They gave some warning that they would probably make that decision sometime in June. We were all notified on June 15th that the health advisory levels had changed, and the previous level, which was at 70 parts per trillion, had now dropped to 0.004 parts per trillion for PFOA and 0.002 parts per trillion for PFOS. To put parts per trillion into perspective, 1 part per trillion is the equivalent of 1 drop of dish detergent in enough dishwater to fill a railroad car train 10 miles long.
Yeah, so it's
very, very small amounts.
Very, very, very small. I've also heard them say that it's 1 drop in 21 million gallons.
Yes.
So that's a very small amount, understandably, and they tend to err on the side of caution when they come out with these things. Tell me the difference so that the public understands the difference between a health advisory and then the EPA is going to come back with a maximum level at a later date. Tell me how that works.
Sure. They've decided to change their interim health advisory level while they investigate what they want to actually set the maximum contaminant level at. So the health advisory level is just that, it's an advisory. It's letting everyone know that there is a concern, and it's also letting utilities know that they should be actively trying to reduce their PFAS levels if they are above the health advisory level. They're also working on their maximum contaminant level, and that will be the regulated amount of PFAS that's allowed to be in drinking water. They anticipate releasing their draft MCL for PFOA and PFAS in Q4 of 2022. That's the final quarter of 2022. I think there's going to be some public comment for perhaps even a year after the draft is released. And then they will finalize the MCL in the latter parts of 2023.
Right. So one of the things that came out in the public is that we've known that there was some level of this in our water. Lots of communities know that it's in their water for a couple of years. But with the advisory level was 70 parts per trillion, we're measuring ours and we were much lower than that. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we actually started measuring PFAS in Thornton's water. Well, we actually started to attempt to measure PFAS in Thornton's water back in 2012, 2013 through 2015 during the unregulated contaminant monitoring rule number 3. We were required to sample for these compounds. At that time, we had non-detects for all of our results on all of our finished water. So we didn't measure again until 2018, and in 2018 we measured in our source waters and we found low levels. I believe it was around less than 20 ppt, parts per trillion, in some of our source waters. But then again, it's still well below these health advisory levels. So we didn't take any further action until 2020 when we started monitoring in our finished water again. We saw these single digit levels, 5.4 parts per trillion for PFOA, 7.1 parts per trillion for PFOA at our Thornton water treatment plant. Again, these are single-digit numbers when the health advisory level is at 70, so we're only, 1/6 of that, actually sub 1/6 of that 70 parts. And then when the EPA started to talk about lowering the health advisory levels, we did see some other states who had already established an MCL for their state. And some of those worst case scenarios were around 10 parts per trillion. So we were kind of anticipating that we would maybe be borderline with that. And we also knew that we had this source water up on the Cache La Poudre that we could potentially blend our existing PFAS levels down with. So if we could get that Poudre water down and blend down our existing numbers of 5 to 7, now we're down at 2.5 to 4 maybe. So we felt pretty confident that we could deal with it that way. But now with these health advisory levels set so extremely low, we're anticipating needing the addition of some centralized treatment specific to PFAS removal at our treatment plants.
Yeah, that's when you brought up a good point. One of the things that residents should know and remember is that we own a lot of water up in the northern part of the state, outside of Larimer County, that's part of the Thornton water projects, which we don't have access to yet because we're in court with Larimer County. Larimer County is basically preventing us from getting all this clean water, which has non-detect levels, am I right?
In the upper reaches, where we want to draw the water off, it is at non-detect right now.
Right. So we're hoping for that new water source because that will do nothing but benefit not only our water supply, but the water quality. But going back to PFAS, we don't have that water yet, but going back to the PFAS stuff, what is the messaging right now the average homeowner needs to know? I heard the CDPHE said residents can still drink and use their water. Is that correct?
Right, so CDPHE, and we are in close communication with CDPHE, talking to them on at least a weekly basis. Sometimes we talk to them 3 times a day on messaging. And right now, CDPHE's message is that the water is still safe to drink and that we continue to drink it. It meets all existing regulatory requirements. There are certain subgroups within our population who are more susceptible, though, to PFAS than other people, especially pregnant women, breastfeeding women, children below the age of 5. And it's because they are consuming more water and more food per pound of body weight than the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. And really, that was the reason we made the decision internally to get out ahead of this as quickly as we could with our messaging. Is that right?
That's correct. Once they changed the health advisory levels, we started to engage CDPHE on the actions and began to partner with them on getting this message out to our public.
Yeah. So just so you all know, we sent out 161,000 letters to all the water customers that work for that consume water from the city of Thornton, just to get the message out to people. So hopefully people understand we're being proactive about this issue. Anything else that you can think of that we want to tell the public?
I did meet with some other utilities yesterday, and one of the utilities had also sent out a letter to their public. And I just wanted to pass along a little piece of information about some predatory filter salespeople combing the neighborhoods, trying to get people to purchase, $1,500 filtration units for their home, and that is not necessary. We have some links up on our water quality webpage, just with 4 examples of different filters if you wanted to go down that route, ranging from $50 to $200.
Yeah, all right. Martin, thanks for coming in. This is important information. Please, everybody, check out the City of Thornton's website for more information. We will continually update it, and as this issue changes, we will inform the public, right?
That's correct.
All right, thanks, Martin.
Thank you.
The Thornton Community Center is scheduled for demolition and rebuild. The facility will be open for business through August 5th, before closing for approximately 2 years. All classes and programs will continue at other facilities. When finished, the new building will feature community center functions and amenities, as well as an AnyThink public library. For more information, visit gocot.net/TCC. Earlier, we mentioned the Naturally Thornton plan. It's an effort to convert turf areas into Colorado-friendly landscapes and be more water use responsible. Here's a closer look at this important effort.
You know, Thornton's water customers are some of the most efficient in the metro region, and what Naturally Thornton does is it has the city joining our customers in that partnership. We've been asking our customers for years to conserve water, and they've responded amazingly. And so our customers have been great partners in our demand management strategy, and they've done that through their own conservation ethic that they've adopted. The second tool is that we want to make sure that as a water utility, our systems are as efficient as possible. So we want to make sure that when we have a leaking pipe, we get out there and fix it as quickly as possible. We can use leak detection to try to identify leaks before they come to the surface. And then Naturally Thornton is really our third strategy. And what we want to do through this program is we want to lead by example and really join our partners in the community, our water customers, by converting a lot of our parks into more water-wise landscapes. Now, the Thornton parks have over 600 acres of turf to irrigate. A lot of that turf gets used for sports and for picnics. Some of the turf never gets a bare foot set on it. And so what we're doing through Naturally Thornton is we're trying to identify the appropriate landscape for the use that is being enjoyed. We want to be able to walk our talk, and we want to be able to model these landscape transformations so that as a community we can build kind of a more resilient landscape that is better adapted to the Colorado environment and can help us not just withstand droughts, but can kind of help us withstand some of the pressures that we'll be feeling as the region continues to get hotter and drier.
So in the city of Thornton, we have about 600 acres of bluegrass turf, and that requires a lot of water, especially in our high arid desert environment that we live in. And with climate change, we haven't had any noticeable drying up of the environment. Winds are a little bit hotter, days are a little bit hotter, and water usage is only increasing. So to combat that, we have created the Naturally Thornton plan to take some of that bluegrass turf out of our system and replace it with native grasses. Native grasses take half to a third the amount of water necessary to keep bluegrass active and healthy. So by simply reducing the amount of turf grass that we have and turning it into an attractive, sustainable landscape, we can reduce by 50% the amount of water that we use in parks.
We offer a wide variety of water efficiency programs for residents, businesses, and they're all available on thorntonwater.com. Also our H2 overhaul program, there's step-by-step instructions on how to perform your own H2 overhaul. So that's a great resource you can download. We call it the H2 overhaul kit. So Naturally Thornton, our H2 overhaul for sustainable landscapes is like an extension of what homeowners have been doing, transitioning their landscapes from turf to water-wise into our park system. So it's going to be a great process to watch. We're going to be really happy with the results. Our water customers have seen the difference when they install a water-wise landscape, whether it be a perennial garden or water-wise grasses. You know, it's significant. It's half of the water use outdoors, and that's treated water that we're putting on the landscape. So it's a real benefit to your water bill and to the city's water bill when you do these transformations. There's other benefits besides water savings, less application of herbicides, pesticides, less mowing required, so less staff resources. You know, lots of benefits in addition to water savings.
For more information on this process, please go to gocot.net/naturallythornton.
And the next tree branch recycling is August 13th, 8 a.m. to noon at Thornton's IMC, 12450 Washington Street. Proof of residency is required. For more information, visit gocot.net/trash recycling. The Healthy Farmers Markets are back in Thornton. They take place Tuesdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Anythink Huron Street Library and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Anythink Wright Farms Library.
How much? 2 for $1.
The markets run until September 29th and offer healthy, affordable food. Food assistance services such as SNAP and WIC are accepted. You'll also find cooking demonstrations, recipes, and nutrition information. For more information, visit gocot.net/connections. The Back to School Supply giveaway for Thornton school-age residents is August 13th. The school supplies will be distributed to Thornton residents only on August 13th at Thornton Community Connections, 9471 Dorothy Boulevard, 10 a.m. while supplies last. For more information, visit gocot.net/connections. The upgrades to the Thomas J. Slocum Skate Park are complete, and they were unveiled along with a colorful new mural at a recent dedication ceremony.
Thank you to my colleagues on the City Council and our Thornton residents for providing us the support and the opportunity to successfully turn these ideas into reality. The original skate park was named for Marine Lance Corporal Thomas J. Slocum, a Thornton resident who died at the age of 22 while serving in Operation Iraqi Freedom in 2003. He was the first casualty from Colorado. The newly built skate park will retain his name, and the monument bearing his name has been reinstalled. Thornton places a very high value on parks like this. We need to continue to reinvest in Thornton parks to keep them at a high standard, accessible for all of our residents. Community Park was dedicated over 50 years ago. The community center was built in the 1970s as Thornton's first recreation center, and it's been an integral part of this community, serving thousands of families. The Thomas J. Slocum Memorial Skate Park is one of the best facilities in the Denver metropolitan area and will be a place for residents to gather and enjoy for many years to come.
Thomas Slocum's sister, Ann Griffin, was unable to be with us this morning, but she does have a few words that she asked us to pass on to the community. And she states, "This skate park means a great deal to our family, and we appreciate all the effort that went into building it. And as a longtime resident of Ward 1 and now one of your council members, I echo those comments wholeheartedly. And I am very grateful and proud to be part of a city that has shown such a wonderful investment in the renewal of this community park, which is the heart of the original part of our city. And these parks and gathering places make us a much more resilient community, which makes us a more healthy and thriving community."
Last year, our project manager, Andrew, approached us and said, how about incorporating some public art into this skateboarding scheme? And we thought, well, the idea of merging art and skating, both creative, innovative concepts and pastimes, were a natural fit. The winning mural concept you see today was created by artist Ramiro Davaro Comas. His passions for painting, storytelling, and community engagement were a perfect fit for the public art at our new skate park.
3, 2, 1, go. Nicely done. The Thomas J. Slocum Memorial Park is officially open.
Skateboarding and art really go hand in hand. They're both creative expressions of the individual, and they need each other in order to move forward. I've been painting murals for about 12 years. And I really believe in the power of public art. Not only can public art educate, it can inspire and it can tell the story of a community, or it can just be a fun thing to look at, but it can also create civic pride in a lot of areas where maybe that's needed. So to me, I've seen the change that comes with public art, the positive change that comes with it, when you also are paying attention to the community, to their needs, and what the community wants to see on the wall. What I'm painting today and this week is a character-based mural, because the walls and these structures are here next to a children's park, a basketball court, a skate park. I just thought, and with the community members here who I've been talking to, that a fun, character-based, happy mural with positive words and encouraging statements would go really well here, because the kids will be able to see this every day, and they'll be able to look through the crowd of characters that I'm painting, select their favorite one, and by that it'll keep them engaged in it, and this is for them. So I'm just really happy to be able to be here and to do it, especially next to a skate park.
Thornton Community Connections and Tri-County Overdose Prevention Partnership present a special movie in the park event on August 13th. Don't miss this fun night of food, giveaways, and resources, all topping off with a showing of Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. This free movie is August 13th at Thornton's Cherry Park, 11500 Birch Drive. The fun begins at 7 p.m. and the movie begins at dusk. For more information, visit gocot.net/connections. That's it for this edition of Thornton 360. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.